Hello, YouTube friends and family. It's Travis again, and today we're doing something a little different. So this is my wife, Bridget.
Hello.
And
I do exist.
And we thought it would be a good idea. She's gonna ask some questions about hiking and some different things regarding that, and I guess maybe to get to know me a little bit more from my YouTube channel. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
For them to get to know you more.
Yes, you already know
I already
me
know you way too much.
Way too well, yeah.
Okay, we'll just jump right into it.
Okay.
What is your age and how long have you lived here in East Tennessee?
I am 50 years old. I'll be 51 in November. Yep, it's a big number. I have lived in East Tennessee my entire life, excluding the 1 year I had to live in Pittsburgh for my job.
Same goes for me. I'm also 50 and have lived here, but I did not go to Pittsburgh for a year, luckily.
Yeah, that
Stayed home with the kids. Long story.
Yeah, that was... It was...
work-related.
Work-related. I had to go up there, and I was basically commuting back and forth like every 3 weeks, so it was a little difficult, but we made it work.
Okay, so my number one question, and I'm assuming some other people have wondered this themselves, why do you hike alone, and do you prefer to hike alone?
So I will answer the second part of that first. I actually do prefer to walk or hike alone, just for the fact that, number one, I get up fairly early. As you can see from the videos, I try to get up there before sunrise, and I don't have to coordinate with like schedules with other people, so it makes it just a little bit easier. And what was the first part of the question? Why do
you hike alone? I didn't have that one on here.
I guess I kind of answered that. You actually started hiking with me last year. Yeah. So I am new to this, by the way. New to hiking. Just started last year. My son played baseball from the time he was like 5 years old until he was 18. And then when that ended, I basically was trying to find a new hobby. We started hiking a little bit early last spring and did several hikes together. And then
about 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6 hikes together. And then she got real bad vertigo on one of the trips. We were about almost 2 miles in, and that turned into kind of a scary situation trying to get her back out. And so ever since then, I think you've been kind of hesitant to go back, but I still like to hike, so I've just kind of been going on my own.
Yeah, I've gone maybe I know once, maybe twice with a friend. But it wasn't like a steep elevation, so
yeah, I think
that's what it was. I was already having ear problems, and then we started climbing with the elevation, and it just—I don't know what happened. It was crazy.
Yeah, she got really dizzy, scary. Like super dizzy, where she couldn't even stand up. She got sick, and and luckily we were on a trail that was pretty popular. A lot of people going by, and we had 2 super nice ladies stop and help us, so that was tremendous. So we do appreciate that. But yeah, ever since then, I've kind of just been going on my own.
And I may start going back now that it's starting to cool off. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to guarantee anything. But okay, so do you think it's a good idea to hike alone?
I do not, but I still do it anyway. From what I've read, I think the optimal number is 3. People hiking together, at least 3. That way if somebody gets injured, you've got one person to stay behind and one person to go get help. It is a challenge, though, for me just to find one person to go hiking with, so let alone trying to find, 2 more people.
Because nobody wants to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a weekend. Well, my friend Sandra would. You and her can go. That wouldn't bother me.
But I wake up that time, like, during the week for work, right? So I get up. I'm used to getting up early, and so on the weekends I can't sleep any later than that. So typically I'll just wake up, get my gear ready, and then just head off to the mountains and go hike a trail. But yeah, it's definitely better to go with other people. I have checked into like some of the hiking groups, like on Facebook and other social media platforms, but a lot of those, number one, you've got several people going, which I think kind of defeats the purpose of going up into the mountains to begin with. And 2, a lot of them require you to hike at a fairly fast pace, which, number one, I don't know if I could keep up with them. But two, I mean, you see through my videos, I like to wander around and look and take my time and enjoy it. So, so right now hiking alone is kind of my only option other than not going.
Would you let me hike alone?
No. I mean, if you said you were going to go regardless, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
Do you see other females hiking alone?
I have seen a few. Normally, there's everybody kind of goes in pairs, right? I probably see more single male hikers than I do women, but I have seen a handful, and I've seen some younger ones up there. And it just concerns me as being a husband and a father that does worry me a little bit. I will say I've never had any issues on any of the trails. All the hikers that I've met have always been great. They tend to look out for each other. So I don't know. Maybe the more popular trails where there's more people on it, I could see that. But on some of these trails, I mean, I've hiked several hours and never seen anybody. So I don't know if I would recommend that. But
okay, here's a silly question: have you ever heard or seen a Bigfoot?
I'm gonna say no. And I really want to believe in Bigfoot. Like, I watch all the Finding Bigfoot shows, and I always joke, like, hey, I bet they find him this time. And they don't. But I really want to believe in him. I will say I have never seen anything like that. The closest, I guess, I can say that I had any kind of an example is on one of the trails. I mean, completely out there, like by myself, nobody else around, and I heard the knocking noise. That apparently that's what they do. At least that's what they say on the shows. I mean, it wasn't anything like a woodpecker or a squirrel. It was very loud and distinct, and there was no one else around. I never heard it again. There was no footsteps in the leaves, woods, like nothing.
No campgrounds close by?
No, there was no campgrounds. Like, it was completely just dead silent. I heard those. It was distinctive, like 3 knocks. It stopped. 3 more knocks, stopped, and that was it. And I hung around for a couple of minutes trying to make sure, see if I could see or hear anything else, and I don't know. I'm not going to say it was Bigfoot, but I guess that's the closest.
Would you tell anybody if you did see one?
I would probably tell you. I don't know if I would tell anybody else because they would think I was probably crazy.
I probably would too.
You probably would too.
Oh, let's see here. So, what's the strangest? Is that the strangest noise you've ever heard? Was the knocking, or was there another noise?
Now, the one that probably was the weirdest is when I was up there, and I can't remember what trail it was, but the wind was blowing fairly hard, and the trees were swaying back and forth, and a couple of trees were rubbing together, and it made a very high-pitched screeching sound. It sounded like a small child screaming, and that did it. It did that like 2 or 3 times, and I knew what it was, but it sounded really weird. So that's probably the weirdest noise I've heard.
What's your biggest fear while hiking?
I think probably twisting an ankle. Something that's going to limit me from being able to walk out, especially on some of these longer trails, or having some kind of a medical condition, like a heart condition, where I ran into an issue.
Would that be the same if, say, I was with you? Would there be a different fear?
No,
I getting hurt. Well, of course, I did get sick, but
I mean, it depends, because if me and you were on an isolated trail where no one else is around, I mean, our only options is you're going to have to leave. You'd have to leave me to go get help, right? So I'd still be by myself. It would probably be better mentally just knowing someone was there, and I'm talking about if it was a heart condition, right? Like, that's a medical. If it's something as far as me just hurting my ankle and you go and get help, that would be a little bit different. But yeah, just where I'm, I mean, anything can happen. So I try to really, especially since I'm going alone, I try to watch my footing and make sure that I'm careful.
What movie is always in the back of your mind while hiking? And I know the answer, I'm pretty sure.
This is so bad. It's so
I
bad.
hope it's the same thing I'm thinking.
I mean, and you're talking about probably bad, the terrible things that could happen while you're in the woods. So, or horror movies. Yeah, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but it's Deliverance. So I wish I could go back and unsee that movie because it bothers me so bad.
I think some of the younger people probably have not, because our daughter's
don't
3.
Don't watch it.
I don't think she's ever even heard of it.
No, don't watch. If you're younger and you've not seen it, or even if you're older and you haven't seen, don't see that movie. It's horrible. But if you have seen it, you know what I'm referring to. And if I hear banjo music while I'm in the woods, I will probably set a new land speed record on trying to get out of there. That is the one. Yeah, that does scare me.
Oh. Okay, what's your favorite trail?
And this will probably change as I hike more, but out of the ones I've done so far, I think Alum Cave up to Mount LeConte is probably my favorite, just for the fact that you've got several different things that you can see on the way. I mean, just going up to Alum Cave is awesome, but once you get past that and you go on up to which the highest point up at Mount LeConte is Myrtle Point. I mean, you've got a great view of all the mountains around. So that one to me is probably my favorite. Now, it is a longer one. I think it was like 12 and a half miles round trip. And getting up to Alum Cave is not that bad, but Alum Cave on up to Mount LeConte was a pretty big challenge.
So how far is the cave? About like halfway, or? Yeah,
it's probably not even that, but the terrain on it is just, the incline's not near as bad until you get kind of right at the end as you're going up to Alum Cave. But from Alum Cave up, the trail is a lot more difficult. The terrain, just everything. But now when I went, it was in the wintertime too, and there was snow and ice, so that didn't help.
Is it steeper than Chimney Tops?
Chimney Tops, and that's one of the things that I think people kind of don't know, because especially a lot of people from out of town, when they come in, they see, oh, Chimney Tops, we've heard about it, it's well known, it's only 3.5 miles, but that is straight up, and it's steps. Like, they literally built steps on most of that trail.
I was fascinated with that, just the fact that they had people come in and I wouldn't say install, but...
No, but they had to put them in.
Yeah, put those steps in. That was fascinating.
But the fact that, like, when you walk on a normal trail, you don't have to pick your foot up very far. But on steps, you're physically having to lift them up like 6 to 8 inches every step. And, I mean, it's like that the whole way up. That is one of the most exhausting trails I've been on, especially since it's just so short. I mean, it's, like I said, 3.5 miles.
Yeah, it is. Let's see here. What's the creepiest trail you've been on?
You asked me this the other day, and I finally looked it up because I could not remember. But it starts at the Sinks. It's called Curry Mountain Trail.
Have I done that one?
No, you have not. It's actually, there's 3 different trails that come into that. I think one is Lumber Ridge Trail that comes up, and then Curry Mountain, there's another one that comes in from the other side. So I had done all 3, but that particular one, before it gets over to the intersection, I came up to this opening, like, in the woods, that I thought originally was maybe a campsite, but it wasn't on my map. And then come to find out it was actual cemetery, which was odd because it was out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm assuming there was some cabins or something in that area at one point, but I didn't see anything like any foundations.
Did it have headstones?
Yes, it had headstones. And I've got a video on it, but it still, and that didn't bother me so bad. Like, it was kind of an unexpected kind of surprise, but when I left that and continued up the trail, like the woods just got really dark. Like, there was a lot of those large dead vines hanging everywhere, and it just had a completely different vibe to it. I don't know. It, like, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow type wood, I don't know. It just gave me an eerie feeling. And, once I got through that, it's back to normal woods. I got to the intersection where it intersects with the other trails, and I had to turn around. Of course, I had to go back through it again. But, yeah, just that one little section had a weird feel to it.
So that made me think I need to back up to when I asked you about didn't ask you about the strangest sound or noise. For me, it was when we were hiking one of the trails, and we weren't far into it. I think maybe 15 minutes or so. We could hear the birds chirping, a little breeze going through, and then all of a sudden, dead silence. And I don't think you noticed it until I said something.
Yeah.
And then, but to me, no noise is the creepiest noise.
And I've
'Cause
noticed,
I don't know. That's spooky.
Yeah.
For it just to stop all of a sudden.
and I've noticed that on other trails as well, where you'll have just, you got things going on, birds chirping or insects or the wind blowing, water, something, and all of a sudden you get to one area and it's just dead silence. And typically that means there's usually a large predator in the area, which in the Smoky Mountains would probably be a black bear. But yeah, it's a weird feeling when you don't hear anything.
What type of conditions make hiking a trail miserable? Whether it's something you're wearing or not wearing, or if it's weather related.
I think it's, I'm not going to say weather related. I'm going to say it's the time of the year. I think summertime here in East Tennessee is probably the worst, just for the fact that the heat and humidity is so bad. When you're on these trails, you're fighting gnats, mosquitoes, yellow jackets, hornets, spider webs in your face all the time. It's just, to me, that's the most miserable.
That's why I let you go in front of me.
Yeah.
For the spider webs.
Yeah, and I'm very good at clearing out spider webs, just to let you know.
And take extra pair of socks with you.
Yeah.
In case you step into the water.
Yeah, you fall into the water.
I've done that and had to hike back a mile or two with the wet socks, and that's miserable.
Well, in all fairness, though, when we first started hiking, we were just wearing tennis shoes.
We were.
So I've upgraded since then, and I've got waterproof boots.
I need to, but I haven't been enough to, I don't know.
Well, it's a pretty big investment. I mean, you'd start looking at hiking, it's like anything else. If you really get into it, you can spend as much money as you want. So, I've tried to do it economically. So I found a decent pair of hiking boots online. I've got a bigger backpack now, but I mean, it's not, name brand. I've got some hiking poles, and I think I got those on sale on Amazon. They were like $16 or something. So you can get things to hike with. They're not going to be top of the line, but they will do. But I do think, based on my recent experience, I probably need to upgrade and get me some better hiking boots, because my feet have been hurting me so bad.
Oh, yes. That comes later. Let's see. Sorry. I'm looking here. What animal encounter startled you the most?
If you'd asked me this 2 weeks ago, it would have been a different answer.
Yeah, I think I typed this question in, and then you came home
with a new story. So before this one, earlier this year, my buddy David and I had went hiking, and we passed some hikers as we were coming back, and they said, watch out for this one area. There's a bear in there. And all right. So we got down there, and we couldn't see it. They said it'd been up in a tree. David was over. He had brought his camera. He was taking some pictures, of nature and different things. And he had his camera out on the picnic table, and he was changing lenses. And so I'm standing, probably 50 feet away from him, looking up in the trees, trying to see if that bear's still in the area. And then all of a sudden, it was a scene from It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, where Snoopy rises up out of the pumpkin patch, and all you see is like this silhouette. I'm looking up in the tree, and all of a sudden I just see something out of my peripheral vision, and I look down, and literally it's this big bear that raised up out of this ditch line that I didn't even know was there, and he was probably 10 or 12 feet away from me. So that one was the one I would have said then. But then last weekend when I went hiking, it was a 15-mile trek up and back. I mean, it's a total of 15 miles round trip. And I saw a bear going in, but just a glimpse, and he took off. On the way back, I got in the same area. I was looking, didn't see anybody or didn't see anything. Started a little closer to the truck, and I hear a noise off in the woods, and it's a cub up in the tree just having the greatest time. And I'm like, oh no, that means mama bear's around here somewhere, which I do not want to mess with. I was trying to sneak by because I'd already done like 13 miles and my legs were give out, and I'm trying to sneak by, and there's acorns everywhere. I sound like an elephant walking along this trail. I apparently got Mama Bear's attention. There was a lot of underbrush. I couldn't see. All I could see was Mama Bear positioning herself between me and the cub as I'm walking down the trail. She's moving along with me, so I never could see her, but it gave me an eerie feeling because I knew that getting between a cub and Mama Bear is probably one of the worst things that you can ask for when you're hiking.
I probably would have freaked out. But I would have thought you would have said the time that you ran up on the big buck or big deer in the
Oh,
woods?
yeah. That was in the wintertime, which I think that was Jake's Creek Trail. And you only walk about a half mile in, and the trail splits. And of course, I was the first one up there, and I could hear this thumping sound that sounded like bass coming from a stereo. It was just very distinct, and it was, repetitive, and like, dish, 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 dish. And I'm like, I know it can't be a stereo. And I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, I look up, and over this hill is a huge deer, and it was a buck. It probably 10 or 12 point buck. And that was where it was walking, just the impact of this thing. And it was probably, I don't know, 25, 30 feet from me, and we just made eye contact, and I knew at that point, we had the same expression on our face. We're like, oh crap, what's this thing gonna do? And it finally just took off the other direction. But yeah, if that thing had decided to charge me for some reason, there'd been nothing I could have done. He was so close, I could not have reacted.
Okay, so do you think that time you were with David and you saw that bear out of the corner of your eye that it knew you were there?
Oh yeah, I know that it did, because they can see better, smell better, hear better than I can. So yeah, it was just me that was kind of in the dark on that. And I'll be honest with you, I would assume that most every trail I've been on, there's probably been a bear at some point knew that, like, just watched me go. Because that one trail that we did, where the bear was just sitting off watching, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, is that a fake bear in the woods?
So every time I watch your videos, even though I'm listening to you on the video, I'm also looking off to the sides to see if, like, he's passing anything that maybe he didn't even notice. My dad thought he saw something one time.
A bobcat.
Yeah. So and he used to ride bikes around Kate's Cove all the time, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He wouldn't just make something like that up.
Yeah.
Nope. Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
I'm gonna say no. That I've ever experienced while I've been hiking on any of these, but I will say that from Jake's Creek, there's Advent Cabin, and I went there to film, and I got into one room, and the GoPro just kept, like, I would hit record, and it would record 2 or 3 seconds and shut off, and I would hit record again, and it would go 2 or 3 seconds and shut off, and it did that like 6 times. I was getting frustrated, and I finally hit record, and I finished it, and then came home and edited it and put out the video, and then I had like 2 or 3 different people comment on that video. It's like, hey, you do know that cabin's haunted, right? And I'm like, I had no idea, and then that's when I realized, I'm like, well, maybe that had something to do with my GoPro malfunction. I just thought it because it was an older GoPro.
No, I went to that cabin before you did, because I'm the one that kind of introduced you to it. I went with Sandra, and I had that vibe. I'm very good at picking up on that kind of stuff. And it wasn't horrible, but there was something there, I felt like. Of course, she thought I was crazy. But the history of the cabin is very fascinating, and I was amazed with that. But, yeah, I won't want to go by myself.
I go in looking specifically at the architecture of the building. Like, I'm fascinated with the history and the architecture. I never go in worried about, like, thinking it could be haunted, and that's just me getting blindsided. That's just something I don't think about. So I just went guns blazing in.
I didn't go into it thinking that either. It's just once I was in there, I was like, I don't know. I can just tell. And also, because that's the one near Elk. Is it Elk One? Mm-hmm. Those cabins near the parking area, I didn't like those either.
Yeah.
Those had not all of them. That was the weird thing. But there were a couple of them where I was in there by myself and I got out fast. But like nothing happened, but still.
Yeah. And I mean, you're out in the woods by yourself in a cabin. It's a little kind of creepy, but I love it. You know, my biggest thing is I think if I opened the door and there was somebody else in there, that'd probably scare me more than anything. But.
What's the funniest thing you've seen other hikers do?
I think it's probably like people visiting out of town that have come in and they've left like Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, and they just been wearing shorts and flip flops and that type of thing. And they're like, "Well, hey, we'll go do a hike." And the one that I think of is Chimney Tops, because you were with me on that one, where it's just people that they don't have any hiking gear. It's physically, and I get it. Some of these are not that long of hikes, and if you're, in good shape and younger, and you can just, scurry up the mountain and come back down, no big deal. But some of these people are not. And I think the one that really caught us off guard was that group that's like 4 or 5 guys that looked like probably they were in their mid-20s.
Yeah, little 20s or 20 to maybe mid-20s. Yeah.
And you had made the comment that it looked like that they had probably come from like a bachelor's party the night before. They were probably going to leave out that Sunday morning, and they're like, well, hey, let's go do a hike. They weren't even a fourth of the way up the trail. We were coming back down, and they were just sitting in a circle, just breathing as heavy as they could. I'm like, hey, guys, how you doing? They're like, I've been better. And you're like, what's wrong? It's like, this trail's wearing us out. We got much farther to go. I'm like, yeah.
And you don't want to be discouraging and say, hey, it only gets worse.
Yeah, it did. They had done the easiest part. Like, it gets...
But I'd say some of them had been, they probably had all been out partying the night before.
I think they still had some alcohol in their system, and they were not hydrated.
Funny. And we didn't laugh while we were with them, but
no.
Afterwards we were discussing it. And
I hope they did. I hope they made it to the top.
I do too.
I think it was going to be a struggle, though.
I do too. I think it was going to be one of them all-day things. But the thing about that trail is, even though we're in pretty good shape, we had much older people passing us.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were just sitting there.
Yeah.
That's what, so we have to laugh at ourselves on that one.
Well, listen, because it's not an age thing. I will tell you that. It's not an age thing. But that one was just difficult. Just like I said, it was hard on the heart and the breathing or whatever. But I've had that same thing happen like years ago when we were members of the other gym, the one that had the pool.
Oh, yeah.
And I went in like first day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go in early that morning. I'm gonna swim. Right? How hard can it be? I can swim. And there were people in there. They were probably 75 to 85, and they were swimming laps around me. I didn't know you could sweat while you were swimming. And if I hadn't been able to stand up in that pool, I probably would have drowned, because it was a full Olympic-sized pool. So my definition of swimming is not like Greg Louganis, or is he a swimmer or diver? He's the diver. Who's the...
Oh, I don't know.
I can't even think of the guy, the Olympian. But anyway,
funny.
I'm not. My idea of swimming is basically laying on a float, dog paddling over to the stairs to get out. But
when you originally told me that story years ago, I think you thought you were really going to die.
I did. Like my heart, because I hadn't been exercising at all, right? And I'm like, I'm in my 30s, I can swim. No. And I was sweating. I stood up, and like it wasn't water, it was sweat coming down I'd never done that before, because I'd really never been swimming. So.
Oh, and by the way, when he came home and told me that story about the mama bear following him a couple of weeks ago, that's the first time I've seen him spooked.
Yeah.
He was spooked. I've been spooked when he says I shouldn't be, he finally got that feeling that I've had before.
Well, let's back up for a second, though, because, like, the first few times we went hiking, we hiked maybe 6 trails. In those 6, we saw bears on half of those. Like, you're a bear magnet.
Yes.
And we would see one way up the trail, and it would be crossing. I'm like, hey, just wait here a second. It's passing, and we can go on. And I turn around, and she's gone. She's headed back towards the
track.
And so I'm like, okay, well, that's a one-time thing, all right? So then the next trail we did it, there was one up on the left, up on a hill, and she was actually... Like, we were beside each other, and we were going downhill, and I stopped to look, and I'm like, hey, Bridget, look at the back. And I look, she's already like 50 feet down the trail.
And that's how this channel got its name.
Yeah, because I'm like, why did you not stop? And look, she goes, I don't need to stop. I just keep walking. And I'm like, well, that's a pretty good name for my YouTube channel, is Just Keep Walking.
The thing is, you don't know if it's a mama bear. I'm not going to stick around to find out.
I'm going to face it head on. Like, I want to know what's coming at me. And she's like, I'm getting out. And I guess I'm going to be the buffer in between. Like, hey, I'll buy you a few extra seconds. But
no, he's always said that he would push me down.
No. No. I did not say that. I said if we're in the woods and a bear is about to attack, I will jump in between the two and defend her. If it's another person, I will defend her. If it's zombies, she's on her own. I'm out. I'm not fighting.
No, he'd push.
I would. I'll shove you down with zombies. I'm out.
And this is the same guy that he can be putting something in the washer, and I walk up behind him, not trying to be mean and scare him to death, but yet he's still going to protect me in the woods from a bear.
No, listen. She said, well, what if I had been a bear? And I'm like, well, if I'm in the laundry room and the bear can come up 3 flights of stairs, open the front door, get into the laundry room and without me knowing it, then I'm doomed. But the mindset of me being in the laundry room is different than when I'm in the woods. Like, my head's on a swivel. I'm looking for bears while I'm there.
That's why I just leave. I'm not going to stick around and find out if you're going to protect me or not. I'll just
but I'm
protect
not
myself.
But to be clear, I'm not scared of bears. I respect them, right? So I like to see them when I'm out in the wild from a distance. Mama bears have always been on my list of no, I don't want to be around. So that's the first experience I've had with a mama bear up close.
Oh, and if you're a hiker that comes up very quietly behind other hikers, cough, sneeze, do something. I've had that happen before after we thought we heard something like a bear, and then heard something following me and turned around and it's like somebody right on my tail.
Yeah,
like, don't be that person.
We had a stealth hiker come out of nowhere, and I get it. He was booking it because he had just there was a section he had been on. We came from 2 different directions, then hit the same trail. Well, the section he'd been on, he got caught in some rain, so he was soaked, and he was just trying to get out of there. And he was younger than us, so he was moving at a much faster pace. But, man, he came down that trail. We had no idea. She turned around, and he was there, and it just scared her because we'd seen a bear not too long from them. So that's what I try to do if I'm coming up on somebody, because a lot of times it's usually families, and they're talking, the kids are making, and I try to cough or shuffle my feet, make enough noise so that they know I'm coming, because I don't want to sneak up.
This guy looked like he's also in the woods, like running. Some people run the trails, which to me is dangerous, because isn't a bear going to chase you if you're running?
But I've seen a lot of people do it for exercise. Like, they have the running shoes, like the hiking shoe, and they just run the trail. Yeah, I can't do that. It's good enough for me just to walk it.
Okay. Well, we've kind of answered this one. How close have you been to a bear?
Yeah.
That was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and I've seen, but what's odd is like last year I saw like a total of about 15 in some form or fashion. And this year I've only seen 6, but I think it has to do something with the trails that I'm hiking. I think they're just, it seems like the bears tend to hang around more populate. I know it sounds weird, but like where there's more people and like trash and food and like campground area, like those are the one. They're usually not too far from there.
Yeah, because you were near the Y, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. But the Townsend Y, that's where it ended. But on the other end of the trails where I saw the bears, they weren't up next to the Y.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This may not have ever happened, but what's the most creative use you found for a piece of hiking gear that wasn't its intended purpose?
I haven't had to MacGyver anything yet. Like I've got a bunch of stuff. I probably got too much stuff in my backpack. So everything I've had has always been functional. I would say something that I've tried to figure out, which I don't have the stuff yet, but if I could find something like on my hat, I'm trying to like put 2 like sticks or something that hang down. So when I walk, like, it gets the spider webs before they hit me in the face. Like, I'm almost considering getting one of those bee hats or mosquito nets or something just for the fact, but I looked so dumb. Well, I looked dumb with 2 sticks.
You scare everybody else.
Yeah, I looked dumb with those 2 sticks out in front, but I'm really tired of those dang mosquitoes hitting me in the face.
Yeah, that one day you sprayed all that stuff and came home and your hat was white.
Yeah. Oh, it was,
white.
Well, you had given me that botanical, organic bug spray, and that was like, I could have sprayed syrup on because it just attracted them. And so I got out the deep woods off with DEET, which is not good for you, but I coated myself. It looked like I've been rolling around in flour because I had so much white stuff on me. So,
okay, here's another one. Since you like to talk a lot, do you talk to yourself while hiking?
I do that all the time. I do that when I drive.
Yes.
Anytime I'm by myself, I'm always talking, or I make up stupid songs to sing just to hear my head. My mom always said I talk to hear my head roar.
He does.
But I also do it to kind of keep my voice active, so that when I get ready to do some commentary on there, it's not like you're trying to clear your throat. So, but yeah, you get bored. I'm out there for hours, and I'll just start singing or whatever. Usually, when I start singing because I'm so bad, that's when another hiker will come out of nowhere, because it's like.
He's got a dash cam in his truck, and I would love to slip the little disc out of it and just bring it in here and listen.
Nah, it'd be
go
ridiculous.
Back and watch. He makes up some stupidest songs.
Yep. I don't know why I do it, but anyway.
Let's see here. What's the most unexpected hidden find you've come across? Whether it's a waterfall or...
So, there were a couple. And I can't think of the name of it because it was a trail that I wasn't even aware of. That was the one where my truck broke down, and there was 2 other hikers that day that they mentioned it to me, and I went back like a couple weeks later and hiked it, and there was a nice little waterfall up there, which I wasn't aware of at all. And then I think the nicest one though was probably Gregory Bald Trail that I did just a few weeks ago. I had heard about it before, didn't really know what to expect. Probably one of the worst trails I've ever done on the way up there. It's just miserable. And then you get to the top, and it's like this big, open, grassy field on the top of the mountain with spectacular views. It's like 75 degrees. The sun was shining. Like, it was perfect. And there was nobody else up there. Probably the best experience I've ever had on a trail, by far.
Is that the one? No, that wasn't the one you got stung. But you had read that there was somebody else had gotten into.
Yes, that was. I had gotten stung the week before on a different trail, and on this one, I had read that somebody had hit a yellow jacket's nest on the way up. I never found that one.
But see, I wouldn't have enjoyed the whole thing.
I was worried about it.
I would have been worried the whole time.
I was looking for yellow jackets the whole time.
So when do those usually go away? What month?
It's when it starts getting colder. So usually, my guess is probably by November they'll go into their nests and won't come back out. At least, hopefully.
What are a couple of trails besides Laurel Falls that you would recommend to first-time visitors?
All right, number 1, avoid Laurel Falls. That one is the most visited.
First ones we did.
Yes, one of the most visited, most crowded. It's a beautiful waterfall, and it's a short hike, and it's paved. It's easy to do. So if you do it, try to go early in the morning or do it during the week, like in off-peak hours. But besides that, Spruce Flats Falls is one that I would highly recommend. It's a short hike, but it's pretty rugged. Like, you actually feel like you're out in the woods and on a rugged terrain. But it's only like maybe it's less than 1.25 miles, I think, round trip. Super nice waterfall. That would be my number 1.
Is it kid friendly for those that have kids?
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's because they take at Tremont. That's where they take the kids to hike when they come up in the summers. Like, they'll come in for a week and stay, and they'll hike that trail. So you can do it, but there's a lot of roots and rocks and things that you have to climb over. So it's kind of rugged.
So no strollers.
No,
like
it's
Laurel Falls.
No. I mean, you're going to be climbing over some stuff to get to the waterfall, but it is awesome. One that's maybe a little easier is at Metcalf Bottoms picnic area. If you park there and you go across that wooden bridge, there's a trail to the right that goes up to Little Greenbrier Schoolhouse, which is awesome. And then above that, where the cemetery's at, the trail picks back up, and it goes up to the Walker Sisters cabin, which is another awesome one.
Yeah, it was closed when I went with you that time.
Yeah, it's closed all last year. They were doing remodeling. They finally got it opened up this year, so you can go back in it.
I mean, you could walk around the outside of it, but I couldn't go in.
Yeah. They had it blocked off where you couldn't go in. Oh, and to get back to your question about like the biggest surprise that I found on a trail, I forgot to mention the one that you got sick on. That was Middle Prong, but about 4 miles in, there's a place you turn off to the right, and it's not marked. You just have to know it's there, and it goes to Indian Flat Falls. And we almost didn't go because we didn't know how far it was, and luckily there were some other hikers that came up and said, "Hey, you're just right here." I think it was it snowing when we went or no?
I think it had snowed and it was a little bit icy.
Yeah, it was icy and like real slick,
Yeah.
but we ended up going and awesome waterfalls,
Yeah.
like a 3-tier type waterfall.
And we only knew about it because of what's the one hiker's name?
His channel is the Smoky Mountain Hiker, and he had done like up that trail and turned and went like maybe a quarter of the way, and it was snowing when he did his, and he couldn't go any farther, so
Yeah.
we never actually got to see the falls in his video, but we knew where to go.
Yeah. When we did it, it was kind of, I don't want to say dangerous like when he was doing it, but it was still slick.
Yeah.
And it's just...
But the fact of the matter is we didn't know what it looked like until we got there, which was kind of awesome. And that's one of the main reasons I kind of started the whole channel, right? Is because there was a lot of trails we wanted to do, and we really couldn't find a lot of information on it. And you don't know, sometimes you get on these trails and it could be a dud or it could be one of the best ones. So that's why I started recording on the GoPro. So, and I know the videos are usually like 30, 40 minutes, which are too long. But if somebody's truly wanting to go look at one of these, I want them to be able to fast forward through and see what the trail looks like.
So on that one, it's to the top. It's about exactly 4 miles.
It's 4 miles up and then 4 miles back.
And when you get to the top, it's going to take a sudden left.
No, it goes to the right.
No, I know, but the trail takes a sudden left, and it kind of comes to like I want to call it like a stone wall, and you take a right, and there's nothing there. You're going to look at it and go, is there even a trail there? And there is. Just to the very right, like you said, we've been through it in the winter. You can see it better in the summer. It's all grown up, and
they can go to my channel and look for Indian Flats Falls and fast forward to that point, and it'll show you exactly where to go.
So
easier
I'm just trying to.
I know, easier to see than to explain because it's
Yes,
difficult.
it's worth it because I was like, I'm not going to walk in that. So
yeah,
but then these older people came through and they were like, "Well, come with us." And it's like, okay. So
yeah,
Travis was on his way back to get me anyway. So
yeah, it was well worth it.
Okay. So what do you think about Cades Cove? Do you think it is under or overrated?
My honest opinion is I love Cades Cove. I think it's one of the best things up there. We've been going since I was a kid, so here's some of the pros, okay? You can drive through it. You don't ever have to get out of your car, which means you don't have to get a parking permit. You can drive through the whole thing. I think it's 11 miles round trip. You can still see most of the cabins from your car. You can see deer, sometimes bear. It's where the early settlers lived, right? There's churches, old churches up there, old cemeteries. There's the grist mill, a lot of stuff to see. If you do want to park, make sure you get your parking pass. I think they've got one of the kiosks right there at the entrance, the little parking area right before you go into Cades Cove. So get your parking.
About how much?
It's $5, I think, for a day pass. I think it's or $7. It may be $7 for the day pass, $15 for a week, and then I get the annual pass, which is $40. You have to buy that online, but you can get the day pass or the week pass there at the kiosk, and they have them at the visitor centers and stuff
and
too.
They say if you're going to park 15 minutes,
more than 15 minutes or more,
and they do enforce it.
Yeah,
I've not personally seen it, but I have been seeing some videos lately where I've seen tow trucks coming in, not in Cades Cove, but. So on
that piece, like Laurel Falls, because it's one of the most visited and people were parking in places they shouldn't and they didn't have the parking permits, yes, they have started towing from there. Cades Cove, you couldn't even get in there to do that if you wanted to, but they might, I don't know, give you a ticket or make you pay for a permit or whatever. I haven't seen it in actually in real life while I've been there, but back to Cades Cove, I love it. I would highly recommend it, to anybody that's coming in. I will say this, though. Spring, summer, and fall, when people are in visiting out of town, it is nuts. We went that Monday, the week of Thanksgiving. We went that Monday thinking there's not going to be anybody here yet because everybody else probably won't start until that Wednesday, or the weekend of Thanksgiving. We were in there for like 3.5 hours. I didn't think we'd ever get out. Like, it was just the traffic just stops. So if you go during that time, it will be miserable. You won't enjoy any of it.
To me, I think it's kind of overrated. Just because I've never had a really good experience.
Well, I love it. I will say there's some good hiking trails in there, like Abrams Falls is in there.
I like the cemeteries.
Yeah, but you have to drive in like halfway into Cades Cove to get to Abrams Falls, which kind of stinks because after you hike it, like I can go up there with no traffic, and when I come out, then I got to hit the whole back half of the Cades Cove to get out. So that makes it a little difficult. But as far as just going, I would highly recommend it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I will. Or were you going to ask me what my favorite spot in Cades Cove is?
What's your favorite spot in Cades
I didn't know
Cove?
you were going to ask that. It is the Tipton Place because that's where my family is originally from. So that is by far my favorite, but I am a little biased. So.
And didn't the family split?
Yes. So we had
So
a family.
we've been told.
Well, we had a family reunion, a Tipton family reunion, like 20 years ago, and one side of the family they had done like this huge thing where they, did the family tree all the way back, and they said that basically the family split at one point, and like the wealthier side went one way, and the not so wealthy went the other, and that is apparently like the side that I'm on is the not so wealthy. That's why I'm buying my boots off of Amazon instead of getting like name brand.
I married the wrong Tipton.
You got the wrong Tipton, yeah.
I'm joking. Let's see.
Really not.
So what's your biggest pet peeve about Cades Cove? Did we discuss?
I think it's just the traffic.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest one is just the traffic. But if you go you go early, or you go in the off season, you can catch it on a good day. It's still well worth it.
Yeah, I think it's overrated, but
You've only had bad experience.
But no, if I was a visitor, I would definitely want to do it.
I mean, because they have parking for each of those cabins.
I've done it so many times, and it's just always been, like you said, traffic.
Yeah, I mean,
just something.
But see, I'm the one, like I'm getting up there at like when they're opening the gates, right? At like 6:00 in the morning, and I'm like the third car going in.
Well, that's my dad when he used to ride his bike up there. And during certain times of the year, they close it on
during
Wednesday?
the summer. Yeah, during the summer, it's every Wednesday they close
So make
it.
sure you check for that before you go if you're there.
But every Wednesday during the summer, they close it to car traffic, so you can only walk it or ride your bikes, and that's perfect if you want to do that, because, I mean, it's going to take you a lot longer. It's 11 miles, but won't be near as congested.
Yeah. So how does hiking affect you physically?
So that's kind of a two-part answer. I enjoy it for, like, it helps me mentally. Like, it's a good stress reliever. I can get out away from, like, everything, work, stress. You get away from, like, social media. Like, you're out in the middle of nowhere, right? So that, it helps basically re-energize me mentally. Physically, it takes its toll because I should have done this when I was younger. Going uphill, it's very hard on my cardio and my breathing. But I do go to the gym several times a week, so that I'm a little bit more prepared for. But man, coming downhill, the impact on my knees and on my feet and my toes especially, that's why I've got to get some better hiking boots.
I would rather go uphill anytime.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't think that. You'd think coming downhill would be the easy part, but that's the worst. And that 15-mile hike that I did 2 weeks ago, I'm still paying the price for it. Like half of my toes right now.
I'm looking at his purple toenails.
They're purple.
Right
They're purple, and they are so sore.
And I've tried to find something to cushion them. It's hard to find anything.
Well, number one, I shouldn't be hiking 15 and 16 miles, but I do because I enjoy it. And but yeah, I need to get some better shoes, and I think socks. So maybe that'll be a good Christmas gift. Also need a good new GoPro. I'm sure there's some other things on that list. So.
Sure there is.
Because my poor GoPro 5, they just come out with the 12. So when you're looking at the video and you're like, why is it so grainy or why is it so shaky?
I don't think it's bad.
I mean, they're on the 12 and I'm using the 5. So I'm way behind on technology.
Okay, last question. Have you ever had an I wish I'd packed that moment? If so, what was the item you wish you had packed?
So, again, I'll give you two examples. Number one, which is a kind of a boring example, is water. Make sure you take plenty of water. Normally, like in the wintertime, early spring, late fall, when it's cooler, I can get by with like one bottle of water. But in the summer, I need at least two. Probably more than that, but due to the weight, I only take two. So I have been hiking before where I've really had to conserve that one bottle of water and wish I'd brought more. But most recently, is when I accidentally got up on the trail too early. That was that 15-mile hike.
Oh,
So
my goodness.
15 miles, it hurt my feet. Almost got attacked by a bear. And I also got up there really early that morning, like 45 minutes before sunrise.
I was watching the video. He was dozing off to sleep for the night, and I kept waking him up, like, going, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's still dark outside."
She was watching the video that night after it because I'd already edited it and published it, and I was trying to go to sleep that night, and she's watching it for the first time on her phone, and she's like, "What are you doing? You're hiking in the dark." I wish I'd brought my headlamp so that I could have been hands-free, but I didn't, so I had to use my flashlight that I had, and literally all you can see, because it is pitch black, is just the circle where the flashlight is shining, and that's all you can see.
See, but that had been me. I'd have been looking around with the light, and eyeballs would have been reflecting back at me.
I never considered. I guess just because I grew up, we always played out in the woods.
That's probably why that mama bear came after you. Like she saw you coming, pitch black, had her babies asleep, and you come trudging through the woods.
No, I think she thought, she could hear me walking. She goes, "Man, this must be a giant elephant about to attack." And then she saw me. She goes, "Look at that little guy. He's not going to do anything."
No, she was waiting for you. Because I would have been. You woke my babies up. I'd have been waiting on you too. Because I would have known you had to come back.
Yep.
So, but no, that's all I have.
All right. Well, hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight to me, my personality. I mean, I know you see me on camera all the time. Did want to prove that my wife is here. You'll see her in like maybe one or two of the early videos, and then you don't see her for a while.
Slowly drop off.
So after her sickness, she's been a little hesitant. So maybe we'll get her back.
Ginger chews.
Oh, yes.
Take ginger chews. You just never know.
Yeah, so that's what the ladies that helped us out when you were sick at your stomach from the vertigo, they had these ginger chews. And I guess it's like ginger ale, like help settles your stomach for motion sickness and things. So that did help quite a bit. So got those in my backpack.
Whether or not it really did help, I don't know. But mentally, it made me think it did. So got my mind off of wanting to throw up on the side of the trail. But so socks and ginger chews for me.
Yeah. And for me, headlamp and what are some other things? Bear spray. I do carry bear spray, so just be prepared.
Just sit in your truck till the sun comes up.
It was a 15-mile hike. I knew it was going to take me all day, so I had to get started to get it done. And I wanted to get up before the sun came up, so because gets hot. So anyway, now you see why I hike alone. So I'd
say Bigfoot was there too, but
I'm sure
he's like he's wanting this to.
If I had heard banjo music, I would have been back in the truck. Trust me, but I didn't. Thank goodness. So please don't ever do that. Like if you see my truck parked somewhere, don't be playing banjo music as I'm walking back out. So anyway, we want to do something silly, kind of go through some questions of with me hiking, so you get to know me a little bit more, other than just what you see on the camera.
If you have any questions, ask us in the comments or ask him.
Yeah, put them in the comment. I do try to answer respond to all the comments, and I want to say a thanks to everybody that has watched my videos. Those have liked them. Those have put comments in, because I tell you what, there's a lot of people out there that have put some comments in that know the trails way better than I do. I'm still an amateur, and so I've been using a lot of that feedback to go back in and redo some trails, things I've missed, or they've given me some suggestions on other trails to do. So, and I love having that conversation. It's been all positive so far, so I truly enjoy it. So thank you for that. But I'm going to close out like I normally do. I'll let you say bye first.
Bye. Maybe we'll do this again another time.
And I'll do my normal, just remember, just keep walking.
Bye.